Hello. Okay, so we are going to be reading Act 4 of The Taming of the Shrew today, and this is a pretty awesome scene, or an awesome act. We're going to read all 5 scenes, and a lot of stuff happens. It flips back and forth between Petruchio and Catherine's story and Lucentio and Bianca's story. So that's what we're going to be reading. And the Act 4, Scene 1, well, just a second. You can access this either in your book if you have it like me, or on shakespeare.folger.edu, and then you just click on the play, on read his plays, and find The Taming of the Shrew, and you will have access to the actual play itself, okay? Okay, so we're starting in Act 4. If you have this book, that's on page 139, and this scene starts at Petruchio's house. Grumio arrives a little bit ahead of Petruchio and Catherine. They've been traveling like in the evening. I don't know how many hours it took them to get from Padua to wherever he lives, but they are now in his home, and so that's where they're getting to. Grumio comes in, and he's telling the other servants about how crazy of a trip they've had. He's probably telling the other servants about how kind of rude Petruchio was to Catherine at the end. Remember, everything Petruchio did was showing the silliness of some of the traditions that we have that are related to the marriage. If you have a marriage, if you have a wedding, the important part is the contract between two people uniting themselves for life. None of the other things are important. What you wear is not important. Having a party at the end is not important. You know, even saying nothing else is important except for two people agreeing to covenant themselves with one another for their lifetime. So that's kind of the main point. So that was where Petruchio was at, and some of what he was working with there at the end, some of the points he's making. Evidently has some very strong ideas and likes to tell other people about them in kind of interesting ways. Okay, so they get home to Petruchio's house. When Petruchio and Catherine arrive, Petruchio is acting like mad at his servants. He's attacking them verbally and physically. He refuses to let Catherine eat. The scene, man, it's so, bless her heart. Like, oh, I would just think of how you feel whenever you get done with a trip. Like, you're on a long road trip, you get to your destination, and man, you just want to sit down, have a meal, chill out a little bit. That's all she wants. She just wants a warm meal, and she wants to go to bed. And that is not what happens. Petruchio doesn't let that happen. So at the end of the scene, he actually confides to the audience that it's all part of his plan. He is trying to tame her in a way. He's trying to kind of make her a little bit different. He's trying to help her grow a bit in her way of dealing with people. And he's actually thinking of her almost like a hunter would a falcon or a bird that he was training. And so we're going to get all of that from Petruchio in this scene. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and begin listening. They have some sweet music right here in the beginning. I think you're going to like it. Yeah, am I right? Solid.
Fire and all tired jades and all mad masters in all foul ways. Was ever man so beaten? Was ever man so rayed? Was ever man so weary? I am sent before to make a fire, and they are coming after to warm them. Now, were not I a little pot and soon hot, my very lips might freeze to my teeth, my tongue to the roof of my mouth, my heart in my belly, ere I should come by a fire to thaw me. But I with glowing the fire shall warm myself. For considering the weather, a taller man than I will take cold. Hello there! Oh, Curtis!
Okay, so it's cold. He's uncomfortable. This is Grumio. He's gotten in. He's thankful to finally be home, and it is a cold, brutal night. They've traveled a great distance. This would be terrible back in this era, just to be on like a horse or a donkey and ride for hours.
They're cold so coldly.
Oh, a piece of ice. Without doubt it, thou mayst slide from my shoulder to my heel with no greater a run but my head and my neck. A fire, good Curtis.
Is my master and his wife come in,
Oh,
Grumio?
aye, Curtis, aye, and therefore, fire, fire, cast on no water.
Is she so hot a shrew as she's reported?
She was good, Curtis, before this frost, but thou knowest winter tames man, woman, and beast. But to tame my old master and my new mistress and myself, fellow Curtis.
Away, you 3-inch fool, I am no beast.
Am I but 3 inches? Why, thy horn is a foot, and so long am I at the least. Yeah, but wilt thou make a fire, or shall I complain on thee to our mistress, whose hand, she be now at hand, thou shalt soon feel to thy cold comfort for being slow in thy hot office.
I prithee, good Grumio, tell me how goes the world?
A cold world, Curtis, in every office, but thine, and therefore, fire! Do thy duty and have thy duty, for my master and mistress are almost frozen to death.
Okay, so here we have Curtis and Grumio. Grumio's telling him about, Curtis wants to know right away, is she as much of a shrew as we heard about? And Grumio's like, the cold will help everybody tame down a little bit. They get into some funny humor here. Remember, Shakespeare always uses his lower class people to say some really funny things. So whenever these two male servants, they're just having kind of a guy conversation, they're talking about, the size of things. That's pretty funny. It's funny no matter which way you read it. So they're just having this conversation, just joking about stuff. And, Curtis wants to know what he has to look forward to in his new mistress.
There's fire ready. And therefore, good Grumio, the news.
Why, Jack, boy, oh boy, and as much news as thou wilt.
Come, you are too full of coney catching.
Why, therefore, fire, for I've caught extreme cold. Where's the cook? Is supper ready? The house trimmed, rosses strewed, cobwebs swept, the serving men in their new fustian and white stockings, and every officer his wedding garment on? Be the jacks fair within, the jewels fair without, the carpets laid, and everything in order?
All ready. And therefore, I pray thee, news.
First, no, my horse is tired, my master and mistress fallen out.
How?
Out of their saddles, into the dirt, and thereby hangs a tail.
Let's have good Grumio.
Then mine here?
Here.
There.
Ah! It's just to feel a tale, not to hear a tale.
And therefore, 'tis called a sensible tale. And this cough was but to knock at your ear and beseech listening. Now I begin. In Primus, we came down a foul hill, my master riding behind my mistress.
Both with one horse?
But what's that to thee?
Why, a horse?
Oh, tell thou the tale. But hadst thou not crossed me, thou shouldst have heard how her horse fell, and she under her horse. Thou shouldst have heard in how miry a place, how she was bemoiled, how he left her with the horse upon her, how he beat me because her horse stumbled, how she waded through the dirt to pluck him off me, how he swore, how she prayed that never prayed before, how I cried, how the horses ran away, how her bridle was burst, how I lost my crupper, with many things of worthy memory which now shall die in oblivion and now return unexperienced to thy grave.
Why, this reckoning he is more shrew than she.
Oh, and that thou and the proudest of you all shall find when he comes home. But what talk I of this? Call forth Nathaniel, Joseph, Nicholas, Philip, Walter, Sugarsop, and the rest. Let their heads be sleekly combed, their blue coats brushed, and their garters of an indifferent knit. Let them curtsy with their left legs, and not presume to touch a hair of a master's horsetail till they kiss their hands. Are they all ready?
They are.
Call them forth.
Okay, so Curtis wants to know, how is the journey? Tell me about what's going on. And so Grumio tells us, he's like, oh, where do I start? And he's being funny, like he hits his ear. And like, remember, Shakespeare really works hard to keep everybody engaged. So he has people kind of doing funny body humor, like punching each other and silly things to kind of keep everybody watching. I mean, it's funny when people fight. It's funny when people do silly things. So same thing goes. Think of how much we sometimes enjoy like a comedy more than a drama of some kind. Well, same thing back in this era. People liked funny stuff. Grumio starts telling the story, so they're riding along, and there's a miry place. That's a place that has like a big puddle of some kind, a lot of mud and stuff. And she was bemoiled. So when it says she was bemoiled, let me see if it says, oh yeah, muddied. And how he left her with the horse upon her, like her horse fell, and it falls kind of on her. Like she's kind of, at least her dress and stuff's kind of under the horse. I mean, probably the weight of the horse isn't actually on her body, or that would not be good. But anyway, he leaves her with the horse, and he goes over and starts beating Grumio because her horse fell. Grumio's like, what the heck did I do? And then she gets so mad, and she comes over and pulls him off of Grumio, and she's like praying to Jesus to help her not kill him. And then she's, trying to get him off of Grumio. Stop hitting Grumio. He hasn't done anything. The horse runs away. Her bridle bursts. I mean, it's just a series of unfortunate events. It's pretty outstanding. And then eventually they do make their way. So they're back behind Grumio, and Grumio's like, get all the other guys, get out here. He's asked if the house is in order. My big question is, this is a bachelor pad. Petruchia doesn't strike me as overly clean or overly, persnickety when it comes to having things spotless. So I would just question, is the house really clean? And I mean, all these servants are males. Is there a woman among them? Again, bachelor pad. This is not perfect. Okay, so they're all coming out, and they're all going to be ready to meet their new mistress.
Dear, ho! You must meet my master to countenance my mistress.
Why, she had the face of her own.
Who knows not that?
Well, now it seems a cause for company to countenance her.
I call them forth the creditor.
Why, she comes to borrow nothing of them. Welcome home, Grumio. Welcome, yeah.
Hello, Grumio.
Oh, no, yeah.
What, Grumio?
What's you?
Hello, Grumio.
Hello, you. Oh, no, old lad. And thus much for greeting. Now, my spruce companions, is all ready, and all things neat.
All things is ready. How near is our master?
In at hand, delighted by this, and therefore be not... Oh, passion, silence! I am a master.
Where be these slaves? What? No man at door to hold my stirrup, nor to take my horse? Where is Nathaniel, Gregory, Philip?
Here, sir, you logger-headed and unpolished grooms. What? No attendance, no regard, no duty? Where is the foolish knave I sent before?
He's here, as foolish as I was before.
You peasant swain, you horse and malt horse drudge. Did I not bid thee meet me in the park and bring along these rascal knaves with thee?
Wait, Nathaniel's coat, sir, was not fully made, and Gabriel's pumps were all on pink to the heel. There was no link to colour Peter's hat, and Walter's dagger was not come from sheathing. There were none fine, but Adam, Rafe, and Gregory. The rest were ragged, old, and beggarly, yet as they are, here are they. Come to me.
Go, rascals, go and fetch my supper in. Where is the life that late I led? Where are those? Sit down, Kate, and welcome. Food, 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 food! Why, when I say,
Nay, good sweet Kate, be merry. Off with my boots, you rogues, you villains. When?
it was the fire of orders grey as he forth walking on his way.
Ouch, you rogue, you plucked my foot awry. Take that! I'll mend the plucking off the other. Be merry, Kate.
Some water here, what ho? Where's my spaniel, Troilus?
Sirrah, get your hens and bid my cousin Ferdinand come hither. One Kate that you must kiss and be acquainted with.
Where are my slippers? Shall I have some water?
Come, Kate, and wash and welcome heartily. You whoreson villain, will you let it fall?
Oh, patience, I pray you, 'twas a fault unwilling.
A whoreson, beetle-headed, flappy-head knave. Come, Kate, sit down. I know you have a stomach. Will you give thanks, sweet Kate, or else shall I? What's this? Mutton.
Aye.
Who brought it?
Aye.
'Tis burnt, and so is all the meat. What dogs are these? Where is the rascal cook? How durst you, villains? Bring it from the dresser and serve it thus to me that love it not. There, take it to your trenchers, cups all! You heedless joltheads and unmannered slaves. What, do you grumble? I'll be with you straight.
Oh, I pray you, husband, be not so disquiet. The meat was well if you were so contented.
I tell thee, Kate, was burned and dried away, and I expressly am forbid to touch it, for it engenders choler, planteth anger, and better 'twere that both of us did fast, since of ourselves are choleric, than feed it with such over-roasted flesh. Be patient. Tomorrow it shall be mended, and for this night we'll fast in company. Come, I'll bring thee to thy bridal chamber.
Okay, so let's talk about this entry. So as soon as Petruchio enters the scene, chaos erupts. And he's creating it. And it's purposeful. Don't ever underestimate Petruchio and his, he has strong opinions about things that, a lot of things. So he comes in and he is, Catherine, she's been on this horrible journey. She's in a dress. She's probably riding side saddle. If she's not side saddle, she's been in this dress on this horse or on the donkey, I think, for like hours. This is uncomfortable. She's tired. She's hungry. She's been in the mud. She's gotten all gross and, wet and stuff. And so she is just ready to go to bed. Get some food in her belly and go to bed. She probably wants quiet. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes whenever I'm stressed or I'm really tired, man, the thing I don't want is somebody shouting about everything. So from the get-go, he comes in and he's screaming about all the things that aren't done correctly. And he's finding everything wrong. I mean, everything. And he's just screaming his demands and he's singing loudly. He's asking them to take off his shoes. They did it wrong. He's asking for the food. The food's terrible. It's burnt. Take it back. He throws it at them. Everything is so entirely over the top. Like, it is so dramatic, this entire scene. And it's just, she just wants to get a little bit of food and go to bed, man. That's all she wants. This is not hard. And he knows that. He knows all of that. And so part of this, it's a strategy. Petruchio is entirely strategic with this entire situation. So even in the, she tells him, like, the food wasn't bad. It wasn't burnt. It was good. And he's like, I'm not feeding you bad food. Rather starve than, eat terrible food. She can't even argue with him. Like, she can't even say, but it wasn't burnt. I saw it. It was fine. No, it wasn't. I'm not going to let you eat. Everything he says, he makes it where it's almost impossible for her to argue with him. So he's like, time to get you to bed. So she's not getting any food in her belly. Now, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I am hungry, I am not always thinking well, and I am not always my nicest. I am, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm near death. Now, I have never been near death because of starvation, but it's funny how fast we get cranky and we get tired and we get where, we're just not functioning. Our brains aren't even functioning well because of that lack of food. So that's where she's at. Now the servants are going to come in.
Oh, Peter, did you ever see the like? He kills her in her own humour.
Now, I would like to mention, Nathaniel says, Peter, didst ever see the like? I want you to note, Petruchio's acting in a way he doesn't normally act. So it's not that Petruchio is like the craziest master of all time who just likes to shriek and shout about everything in life. He's acting a bit unusual. So there's that. Peter says he kills her in her own humor. So this is a woman who is known for being just difficult. So Petruchio is being difficult.
It is he, in her chamber, making a sermon of condonancy to her, and rails and swears and rates that she, poor soul, knows not which way to stand, to look, to speak, and sits as one new risen from a dream. Away, for he is coming hither.
Thus have I politically begun my reign.
Strategy.
And 'tis my hope to end successfully. My falcon now is sharp and passing empty. Until she stoops, she must not be full gorged, for then she never looks upon her lure. Another way I have to man my haggard, to make her come and know her keeper's call. That is, to watch her as we watch these kites that bait and beat and will not be obedient. She eat no meat today, nor none shall eat. Last night she slept not, nor tonight she shall not. As with the meat, some undeserved fault I'll find about the making of the bed. And here I'll fling the pillow, there the bolster, this way the coverlet, another way the sheets. Aye, and amid this hurly I intend that all is done in reverent care of her. And in conclusion, she shall watch all night, and if she chance to nod, I'll rail and brawl, and with the clamour keep her still awake. This is a way to kill a wife with kindness, and thus I'll curb her mad and headstrong humour. He that knows better how to tame a shrew, now let him speak. 'Tis charity to show.
Okay, so, Curtis came back and reported that even in the bedchamber, that he's railing and swearing and rating and talking about everything, and she doesn't know how to stand, look, speak. She's sitting like somebody who's woken up freshly from a dream. And he just keeps talking and ranting about stuff. Then he comes downstairs and he's out on the stage all by himself. And he says, "Thus have I politically begun my reign." This is strategy for him. He has thought all of this out. And so he's comparing her to a falcon. And what you do whenever you train a falcon is you starve it a bit, and you make it where it's hungry and it's wanting to do the right thing so it can get food. It's like you're keeping it from some of those little niceties, those think of your hierarchy of needs. Like, you have some things that you need each day. You need safety, and you probably need like sleep and food and things like that. Some of those basic needs of yours, some of her basic needs right now are not being met. And so that is a problem. And so he is using that as a strategy to go ahead and get her to bend to his will in things. And so it's his strategy. He's planning to not let her sleep. If she starts to fall asleep, he's going to start shrieking and ranting about things. He's not going to let her eat. This is a house that isn't hers, so she doesn't even know where to go to get to the food. And the servants are all they work for him, not her yet. And so, she doesn't have their allegiance yet. So this is just a mess. But that is his strategy, how to get her. And so, man, that's crazy. Some people get really, really cranky about this. It's interesting. Her whole life, part of how she met stress and trauma was to just kind of shriek and freak out about it. Part of what he's doing is he's shrieking and freaking out about everything. Maybe part of why this is his strategy is to show her that it doesn't really work. Because honestly, by the end of the day, what does yelling and freaking out entirely about something, where does that get you? And I think in real life we can think about that too. We can shriek and rant and rave. We can scream from the housetops. But at the end of the day, does it actually change anything? If you have a problem with somebody, does it really do you any good to shriek at them and rail at them and lose your cool, lose your temper, and just be crazy? Or is it better to methodically think of why you have a problem with something and to kind of, using your words, kind of spell it out in an understandable way? There's an argument there. So that's part of his strategy, is to kind of show her how maybe some of her behavior that she's been using up till now is ineffective. Interesting. Okay, so that is the end of Act 4, Scene 1.